Greetings, Fansplash fans! Welcome to a very special episode. We are doing our very first top 5 video series. Me and Tyler came up with the idea to do a top 5 comic book movies, and these are not necessarily the best of all time. They are our personal favorites for various different reasons. So no reason to argue, but we would love to hear what your top 5 is.
Oh, you can argue. Tell us why we're wrong.
You could. It's hard to say why someone's own personal opinion is wrong, but I've had to fight that against various movies for
You're
a
wrong.
long time. No, thank you. And with
we all
us,
have quite the different list.
Fuck off, Lot.
with us, we have Cody Calabuso, back from the abyss of not being on the show for a while, so welcome back. Glad to have you.
Thank you.
Awesome. It wasn't even going to happen. We bumped into each other at work, which was kind of cool. And I was like, hey, so doing podcasting tonight, doing some fan splashing. So this is Fan Splash's top 5 comic book movies. But we are going to start out with our honorable mentions, guys. What didn't quite make the cut, but it was close? Yep.
For me, and I think for you as well, I want to go, not necessarily in order, but I want to say Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right.
Guardians of the Galaxy was one of those movies that took, I think, everybody by surprise. It looked really good from the trailers, but as far as the source material, I didn't know anything about it prior.
Right.
So I think that the film was actually, gave me a lot of character ability in all those characters and told a really great story and brought the threat away from Earth. You know, you get Thanos a little bit, right? So
our first real Thanos tease, other than him just cracking a grin.
So it's a nice side to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is one of the most amazing things going on right now. So,
and I just want to add on to, I think, to really, I'm gonna add on to it because it's on both of our lists.
Okay.
It's on both of our honorable mentions. Guardians of the Galaxy. If you just rewind time, go to when the movie was announced. Shortly thereafter, when we were getting ready for our first trailer, they casted Star-Lord. Who'd they cast as Star-Lord? The chubby guy from Parks and Recreation.
Yeah.
And then you're like, what? And then Rocket Raccoon, traditionally in the animated shows and the video games, has always had a Cockney accent and stuff. And we're doing Bradley Cooper, and again you're like, that's what? And then it's and Vin Diesel's going to be Groot. He's only going to say 3 words. We have a talking tree that can say 3 words. Here are your main heroes and stuff. And I remember trying to pitch the movie to people. Marvel's next movie, it's Guardians of the Galaxy. Oh, what's that about? I was like, there's a raccoon with big rocket launchers, and there's a talking tree. And they cut me off halfway. It's that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of.
Right.
But it made more money than Amazing Spider-Man, both of them, and several other big main properties. I think
it did really well, and it took a lot of people by surprise. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was,
and that soundtrack.
Yeah.
First, I was super upset that it was in the same universe as the Avengers and all that stuff, and then now, as I see where everything's gone, I'm like, oh, it totally ties in. Yeah. Before I was like, please be a standalone. Please be a
aliens, talking raccoons, come on.
Yeah, this whole talking raccoon. But then after watching it, I'm like, totally this, and then seeing the trailer for the second one, or for the Infinity Wars.
Wait, did you see the leaked trailer for Infinity War?
Yes.
Oh my god.
I still haven't seen it. I have virgin eyes.
We're talking where they run into some space bug, right?
Yeah.
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 No.
I read the synopsis.
Synopsis.
I read the Cinnabon. And I hate it. Next on my list would be Civil War, right?
Yeah. So we're just doing 2 birds, 1 stone.
Yeah, I think would be another shared one that we have. Probably one of the most well-rounded, well-written comic book films. Obviously, it's basically the Avengers 3, not Captain America 3. We got Iron Man. We get our introduction to Black Panther and Spider-Man. It's fantastic. We get more Vision. Probably the last we'll truly see of Vision, and the most character ability in him.
Really?
And
he's going away?
Well, he's made out of an Infinity Stone, so I think he's probably gonna die when Thanos gets here.
Oh shit!
He is in the trailer though, so we'll see him somewhat.
He will be in it. He has to be there.
Yeah, he's like the ring finger.
He has to be there to be murdered.
Oh god, no.
Anyway,
Go ahead.
anyway, and then I just think that the plot was so fantastic. It had so many layers. There was so much about it. It made a lot of sense, and just where they went with the villain was just, I think, all around fantastic. And I think they did what Batman versus Superman failed to do, was they brought all these characters together, added new characters, and told the story of conflict. With all these characters, they had a ton of characters, and they did it fantastically without any convolution or muddy parts. It was just all full, well-rounded.
This is definitely not comparison talk. Like, not going to go into full discussion, but
Sure.
if you take up plot points, Batman vs Superman and Civil War, there's so many similarities across the board. Even like villains' plans, there's a lot of similarities across the board. But like you just said, Civil War did it so much better and cleaner with more that they had to do.
Right.
It's like they were not dealing with 3 characters; they were dealing with 10. We got the best I've ever seen Ant-Man. Like, Ant-Man had just come off of his own movie, and I loved him more in Civil War. We got an introduction to a new Spider-Man. People were sick of seeing Spider-Man. Now they want to see more of him. Black Panther, one of my favorite Marvel characters ever, got an amazing introduction. Vision had more to do here than he did in Age of Ultron. Just across the board, stellar movie. Winter Soldier got to kick ass. There was just a lot I really liked about it. Cody, Civil War wasn't on your honorable mentions list, but how did you feel about it?
It was good. I liked it. Good movie.
Solid. I think so. We've done
Entertaining.
2. I want to give a chance for Cody to do some of his, because he has some unique picks for his honorable mentions.
Yeah. I'm quite a bit older than these two, so I guess
He's not that much older.
I mean,
Only
it's
one
like,
of
only
this
like
has-
only like a half a decade. It's not a big deal. So what? Well, no, I guess Iron Man 1, the first one, like the first to kick off this whole like new Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Right.
Is like when it came out, I just remember sitting in the theaters and watching this and be like, oh my god, this is something I've never seen. This is great. This is a comic book movie done like a comic book. The visuals were awesome. The story was simple, but like made you want more.
Right.
Robert Downey Jr. was hilarious, and you saw his full character arc in the movie.
We had never gotten that level of
Personality?
personality and like story. It had
Well, that
always
much
been
money
it had
dumped
always,
into like a movie too.
It had
like, was,
always been about the villain and like the plot and how they were gonna like wrap that up by the end of the movie. Like that was the whole thing about the resolution. There wasn't. I don't know. Jon Favreau and Robert Downey Jr. and Disney did something. It was just it really was the first of its kind. I don't know how to explain it.
Absolutely.
It definitely started. Well, cool thing is that and Dark Knight came out in the same year, so it was a year for changing comic book movies. They're like from 2008 on, everyone can like usually unanimously agree 2008 was the starting point of this generation of comic book movies. Because everything like before that, you had Batman and Robin, you had Daredevil, you had Fantastic Four, and things that did not make it onto any honorable mentions or lists or anything of the sort. Give us one more, Cody, before we move on to our next one.
Logan.
Logan.
In fact, Logan would probably be almost. I don't even want to say honorable mention. I want to say like 5.1. That's such a good movie.
I'm holding back on talking about it because it's somewhere on my list.
Gritty, dark.
It's
just
pretty high up on my list. I think it's on everybody's some sort of list.
Tugged at the emotion strings.
It did. It did everything. Did everything.
Yeah,
Like
that movie.
a bitch.
That movie was awesome.
And who would have thought, like when the movie was announced, who really cared or put the faith in it that this was going to be the one?
Yeah, and to go out.
Especially since the director that did the last one did the Wolverine.
Yeah. Which I thought was...
Yeah, redemption song for sure. So that movie was good.
Well, he said this, and like people have been saying this since like Logan came out, is James Mangold, the director, and Hugh Jackman said like, hey Fox, can we just do our movie? Like, no, don't hold our hands, don't say it has to fall into this continuity or that continuity, it doesn't have to connect to this, can we just do our swan song for Wolverine? And like, I mean, yeah, it's his last movie. Do what you want. It's like, all right, it's gonna be R. We're gonna do this, this, and this, and this. Fuck it. And
Yeah.
it was amazing.
It was amazing.
Um,
It made me want another.
we will
But
talk.
he's
I
dead.
know.
Whoa! Spoilers.
Made me want another.
And oh, dude, it just the credits is Johnny Cash, Man in Black. And like right after, like I was just like in an emotional, like just a coma. Like I was just sitting in the chair, like I'm not okay.
Yeah.
I'm not okay. Dude, and I told people like coming out of the theater, like I just walk up to, I haven't done this in a long time. I was walking up to random people, and I'm like, "What movie are you seeing?" They're like, "Logan." I was like, "That movie just fucked me up, man. I got
Dude,
fucked up."
we were sitting right next to each other, and at the end, he goes, "Were you trying not to cry?"
I literally was like, dude, I might cry just now. It's like I raised a baby goose and like watched it turn into a full-on goose, and then like had to watch it fly away, and I was just like,
And
I
then it
know
got
that's how it has
shot.
to end, but I don't want it to be like this. It was bad
All right, I
and
think
good.
we all have one more honorable mention. I do believe.
Yeah, we don't
What
have
it is,
one
it
of
is.
mine.
Well, it's
Yeah,
not up
way
here.
out here.
Oh, it's X-Men 1, the first X-Men movie,
Before Iron Man, there was X-Men 1.
which I've got a lot of X-Men love, and I think that movie still holds up. It's still the cast, the characters, pretty faithful to a lot of the characters, especially the original interpretation of Wolverine, and I still quote it almost every day. With my girlfriend, we go, "I saved your life."
No, you
No, you
didn't.
didn't. It's just one of those movies that it predates Fantastic Four and Daredevil, and it's still better than them, and it still holds up. So it's just fantastic. And the fact that the three of us can have a 3-hour-long X-Men conversation and still find a way to somehow explain the continuity after 17 years,
Yeah.
that's pretty impressive. And that's what kicked that off. So, to me, that's my MCU.
Just to make you feel older, Cody. So I was 7, 8 when X-Men came out.
I was 8, so you were
7. So I was
Damn.
7 years old when X-Men came out. I think it might have been 2 years after it came out that I actually watched it, because I watched it at a cousin's house, and I just remembered that, like, I always liked the concept of superheroes, but I never had like my superhero like that I loved. That was like my favorite, and it was the bar scene, and Wolverine slashes the shotgun and then puts his claws up to the other guy's neck, and the two go on the outside of the neck, and the middle one creeps up to his neck. I was like, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
It was, yeah.
And I was,
Yeah.
and from that point on, Wolverine was like my favorite comic book character from like age 7 to, I would say, like 21. I think he got knocked down a peg or two, but that's a long time to have the same favorite character.
So what's your last one?
My last one is, and also it's up here, represented here, and it is Hellboy, and it's a movie that, like, unfortunately, sometimes I forget about how much I really like it, but there's been all this talk of the Hellboy reboot and stuff, and so I went back and I watched it, and this movie is just, it's dark. It's Guillermo del Toro, who did Pan's Labyrinth. He's got a very certain, kind of like Zack Snyder. You could not tell somebody who the director of a movie is, just show them the movie, and they're like, oh, that's Guillermo del Toro, or oh, that's Zack Snyder. Like, they have a very definitive vision. And Ron Perlman just fell into this character. Like, he was Hellboy. And I just love, there's a lot of practical effects in this thing.
I was just gonna say, as beautiful as the CG was, the non-CG, that's where you can tell that's him. Like, that was the use of non-CG in it. That's where it was gorgeous.
The Samael, the Desolate one, for like 75% of the movie was a dude in a suit, like crawling around, and they were fighting. I was like,
What year did Hellboy come out? Like 2006?
that's probably true, but
Something like that. But the fact that it's we were talking about how 2008 was probably the launch of this, and they still have even grown from then. Like Thor kind of fell flat and
Sure.
stuff like that with certain audiences. That movie still holds up really well.
it does.
So that's also impressive.
It's good. It's intense. When there's a certain death in like the middle of the movie, I still feel the impact of it. It was so different. In my opinion, I feel like it came out too soon. Like, I feel like if it came out now, it would have made more money because people are more open to these different takes on characters, or just the Spawns, the Ghost Riders, the Hellboys, and things like that. Now is a good time for it. So yeah, I don't know really what else to say about it, but Hellboy's awesome. Can't wait for the reboot. Like you said, still holds up. So that's it for my honorable mentions. You still had one.
Going way back, Judge Dredd.
Mr. Sly Stallone.
Yep, Stallone and I am the carrot and I am the law can't. Yeah, that movie is just great. I mean, I don't know, maybe it was just the era or time. Maybe it was
The shoulder pads.
nostalgia and the shoulder pads. I don't know. I love the story. I loved everything about it.
I haven't seen Judge Dredd, but does it have that like 1980s sense of the future?
It
You know,
has
like,
very.
It's very Blade Runner.
Vision-
It is
of the
very. It
future.
is very RoboCop. Like,
Okay.
would you say before RoboCop? meets-
RoboCop, Total Recall.
Very much so.
Okay.
The original
Very-
one is yes.
Yes.
The newer one is much grittier.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's awesome.
absolutely.
I can definitely appreciate something
Yeah.
like that.
And you have like
Plus, there was like this humor. I mean, Dread is obviously a much better rendition, a much clearer vision, visually stunning, way darker. But like, it had that classic. When did it come out? In the 90s? How did it come out in the 90s? Early.
I thought it was late '80s, but I could be wrong.
I think it was 90s.
Yeah, you're probably right.
It is
The
90s.
CGI was too good for that time.
Yeah, it had that classic like 90s humor that they always try and tie into like a lot of the films. Like there was like this humor between Stallone and Rob Schneider. That
Yeah,
was
it couldn't have been the '80s if it was Rob Schneider.
Right.
Yeah. It was good. It was good.
And most people, like, even if they haven't seen the movie, if you say "I am the law," people know what movie
Yeah.
you're talking about. So it's legendary for its own reasons.
I mean, it's cool because it was a comic book movie, but at the same time, 99.9% of people didn't know that. It was just a sci-fi movie that had this cool, like, post-apocalyptic vision of law and city and order, and yeah, it was just good.
I'm gonna admit I haven't watched it all the way through, so maybe I'll put that on my list of things I need to watch all the way through.
Spoiler alert.
All right.
All right,
Is
so
that it for honorable mentions?
that's it for the honorable mentions. I think that'll probably be, since we covered 9 movies. I guess not 9 movies because we had some overlap.
Yeah.
More like less than 9, but that'll probably be the longest video.
Too lazy to do that.
That'll be the longest video out of the series here. So we want to know what's your honorable mentions. What didn't make your list? Do you like our list? Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? Let us know. And are any of these on your list? Do you like my erection selection?
It's actually an illusion in the past. It's a different movie.
All right. Top 5 comedies coming up after this one.
I sent that link to my boss. The Wanderlust. Is that what you were quoting?
Yeah. All right. So thank you for joining us, and stay tuned for our number 5.
Let's do it!